Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan. Today we are looking at Buffalo Trace Single Barrel. Now we were in Casper this last weekend. Um, Saw this on the shelf at the liquor shed. Shout out to you guys. They have some of the best prices in Casper, and there was a new liquor store, new to us, anyways. It was a discount liquor store that was right across the street that we did not stop in. So next time I'm down there, I'll have to check it out and kind of see what they got for prices. But assuming since they're across the corner, across the intersection from each other, kitty corner, I'm guessing they're going to have some competitive prices. But um, pretty sure, memory serves me, single barrel here at the cheap liquor store was $92. And so I passed it over, passed it over, passed it over. Saw it down in Casper for $82.99, which is not cheap. That's pretty damn expensive. But $10 cheaper than here locally. So decided to jump in, buy this. I had a bottle of the, I think, 2023 High West Campfire release. I was going to buy that, because our bottle's so. My hunting partner brought a bottle in 2021 or 2022, and it was phenomenal. And so I wanted to get another bottle, but since we already had a bottle that we haven't really had any out of for a while, I thought, we'll put that back, get something we don't have. Never been, well, not never, not since 2015 have we been disappointed with the Wyoming whiskey. Coming in at 48%, 96 proof. The single barrel, this is barrel 6839. This is aged 5 years. Here's the one downside I'm going to say about this. Their standard uh, small batch here. Their standard small batch also aged 5 years. And this is batch 109. So 5 years old, same age. Coming in at 44%, 88 proof. So for 4% more ABV, you can buy this here in Wyoming for, I think, 30. Let me take a look. I think I paid $36 for that, something like that. Just a second here. Small batch, $37.39 versus $82.99. So more than double, same age, and only 4 proof points more, but a single barrel. Supposedly they're picking it for, the characteristics that are coming out of that bottle. That's the benefit of the single barrel. We'll see. I tried it, wasn't terrible by any means, of course, because it's Wyoming whiskey. Is it worth the upgrade? Well, first go around with it, I would not say it's worth the upgrade. Again, if you watched my other video where up until that point I had done head to head of, I think, 6 different bottles from Wyoming whiskey that I owned, that small batch that I just had up there, the cheapest one of the bunch, I chose that as my favorite bottle in blind tastings. Now, if you like more oak, if you like more bitterness, if you like more of that tannicness in there, there's different barrels that are definitely better, or different bottlings. But for my favorite profile when it comes to bourbon, I like the sweeter stuff with less bitter tannic notes. Like if you can get the oak, if you get some of the char in there, great. If you get some of the oak notes that aren't the bitter tannic notes, I like that when it comes to oak, but I don't really like that bitterness in my bourbon or any other whiskey. So when you get that coming forward, like on the 10th anniversary edition and some of the other ones, it's not going to win out for me personally. That's not my personal favorite flavor profile, but if you like that, then hey, good on you. You'll probably choose something different. But for me, that small batch, again, the cheapest one in the bunch, happened to be the one that I like. But single barrel, here we go. Diving in on the nose, I get a cherry blossom, brown sugar, a little bit of dark caramel mixed with some honey. The ethanol kind of lingering in the background. It's mostly sweet coming out of the glass more than anything. Brown sugar, honey notes, that kind of stuff. Caramel. It smells like it has more depth of flavor for a single barrel product. All of them were ringing in at this 48%. I think that's a mistake. Like this particular one smells like it wants to give you a lot more if it had been at a higher proof. Little tip. Me personally, if you're doing a single barrel product, it needs to be at barrel proof. Even if it doesn't taste the best at barrel proof, let the consumer choose where to bring it down. Here's what I would do. So if I was in a distillery and I was doing single barrel products, I would release it at cask strength. And in our little blurb right up on the back end, I would say, when we proofed it down to this point, and this point, here's the main flavor profiles that we got out of it. Now, that's a problem because you can't do that in mass, right? Each barrel that you do that to, you are going to get a different composition out of it. But to me, a single barrel product should be just that. It's highlighting that individual barrel. So when you proof it down to a specific proof point for every single barrel, you lose all of that in there. And so I'm just not a fan of that. Now, on the business side of things, I understand it. It's easier to do. It's kind of a cash grab. So, you're taking something, I don't know what their entry proof is, but let's just say it's somewhere between 109 and 117. You are getting, so I think it says on here you get 220 barrels out of it. See, Wyoming whiskey winner, blah blah blah. So this is talking about the interplay of the seasonality and stuff. It yields about 220 bottles. Okay, so I'm assuming that at this 48%, you get that 220 bottles. If you were to leave it at barrel strength, you probably only get 200 or 180 or 190 barrels, something like that. So you're losing money on it. And when the mass market is more than happy to pay a much higher premium price point for something just because it says single barrel, you reap the benefits of all that. But from a whiskey nerd standpoint, release it at cask strength, forego that extra 40 bottles or 20 bottles or whatever it is, run through it and so maybe you don't do what I just said and proof it down and put that in your write up, because that's a lot of work for a big company. But allowing the consumer the option to proof it down themselves, from a whiskey nerd standpoint, somebody who's really enjoying that bottle, that's more fun. And maybe this is the optimal proof point for the majority of barrels. And you can write, we found that at this proof, things are better. I don't know. This just smells like it's wanting to give you a lot more than what you're getting out of it. Like, it had more heft to it. You can smell around the edges that it's kind of been knocked down a little bit. The density of that nose characteristic isn't there. I haven't even tasted it yet, so we'll see. It's really, had an opportunity to open up, but the nose profile has not changed a whole lot, except for on the back end, it opened up a floral component, but that's it. So, all that saying, cheaper stuff has been better. But here we go. Okay. It has a very tannic, bitter overtone from mid-palate through the finish. Up front, it's very light, sweet, sugary, confectioner, sugar, sweet. for the first couple of beats through the initial sip through the beginning of the mid palate. That tannic bitterness takes over pretty hard, mixed with the ethanol in the back. So it has a pretty harsh ethanol bite. Now, granted, this is single barrel, so every barrel is going to be different. But I don't know. Not the best one. This is not the best Wyoming whiskey I have. It's still really, really good and beats most of the whiskey I have behind the bar here, bar none. It is a great whiskey for sure. It's leaning just outside of my preferred flavor profile. Nose didn't change. Lots of sweet notes. And it's only on the back end that you get a little bit of that tannic bitterness. This seems like it would evolve a little bit over time. I would not want to mess with any of the proof on this whatsoever. One other thing, very, very important, especially in a climate like if you're looking at Texas or if you're looking here in Wyoming. So this is literally the Wyoming Whiskey Company's on the other side of the mountain from where I'm at right now. And it's a lot hotter and drier in the summer over there. They're in the Bighorn Basin. And what I'll say is the last couple of years have been, or last year especially, so this is 2024. The winter of 22-23 was lots of snow, lots of moisture. In fact, here it was green all the way through October, which never happens. That is going to impact how that whiskey is aging. So when you look at a 5-year age statement, that you got to look at the block of 5 years that whiskey was aged in, because this 5 years is going to be different than those 5 years, and that's going to have a drastic impact on what proof it comes out of the barrel at, how much the whiskey itself gets pushed into that wood or back out. It's really going to change the impact. And that's what they talk about here. It's like, oh, single barrel, the winter, the summer, it impacts the whiskey, yada, yada, yada. That's true. But you need to look at what those 5 years in the 5-year age statement is doing to impact that whiskey. And so, in particular with these guys, that's how you're really going to get some honey barrels and whatever else just normally. But depending on what 5-year block you have, really going to influence what that whiskey's going to taste like. The hotter it is, the faster it's going to force it into the wood, the more bitter tannic notes you're going to get out of it, the more oak you're going to get out of it. Really, that subtle, light, easygoing climate is what you want. So like Kentucky, it's hot, it's humid, so water's going into the system instead of coming out. It's not as dry, it's not as arid. The more arid and hot it is, the faster it gets pushed into that oak. That's why Texas, they can only age, not only, but they often only age stuff for 2 or 3 years before it gets so dark, so tannic, so oaky, that they got to get it out of that barrel, or it's going to go too far to be outside of that flavor profile that the average consumer is going to want. They have a very similar climate over on the other side of the mountain, with the benefit, though, that they still have a winter climate here, whereas Texas, once every 5 years, they actually have a winter show up. The other side of the mountain, they get winter every year. It might be a month, it might be 3 months, it might be 5 months, it might be 6 months. But they do have a winter climate there every year, and that's going to impact the whiskey. So all of that, lots of rambling. It's good. It's very good. It's not worth $82. I think you are much better off with the standard small batch at $37, $45, whatever you're going to pay dollars. And then the private stocks that I have 2 of them. And if I were to choose, I would pick these every single time. What did I pay for these? I have 2 private stocks. So these are single. Actually, I have 3 of these. I paid $50, $49.99, and $56.99. When I bought one here in town, I paid $56.99. That was the most expensive. The other 2 I bought down in Casper, and they were $49.99 for private stock, and these are cash strength. So this one in my hand that I just happened to pick up was the one that I bought here locally. It's 53.91 or 107.82 proof. One of the other ones I have here is 113 proof. So these are coming out at cash strength for $50. So $30 cheaper. And at cash strength, I think you're much better off going with the private stock than you are with the single barrel. Hopefully you can find those in your area. Yeah, it's a better deal. I mean, you're talking almost half the price. Yeah, just short of half the price. So what, 40% of the price? For 40% less, you can get a cash strength versus a 96% or 96 proof. Yeah, they didn't win me over on that one. Bottom line, very good whiskey, just not worth the money. Go with the private stock if you can find it in your area. If you can find this single barrel, it's worth picking up, but I'd only have one, and that'd be it. It's great whiskey. Wyoming whiskey makes great whiskey. Even this, I don't have any faults with it at all, other than the price point versus something that I can get for cheaper and higher proof. But man, it's good. And I hope you guys can find this in your area. Drop in the comments down below what you can find a bottle of Wyoming whiskey single barrel for in your area, and whether or not you can find the private stock in your area, because if you can, that's the way to go. Any experiences you have with it? Hopefully they're all good ones. I like it. I'd sit and drink this. This is definitely going into the collection, but this particular bottle, this particular barrel, is not beating out any of my private stocks. It probably is not going to beat out my regular small batch or my double oak. The only one this one probably beats out, in my opinion, is most likely going to be the 10-year anniversary one. So there you go. For whatever it's worth, that's my opinion. You guys have yourselves a great day. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you in the next video. No idea when that's going to be. This is the last bottle of whiskey I have on hand at the moment. Might do some comparisons. I know I said I was going to do some cocktails. We might do that when I get a free day here. But otherwise, stay tuned for the next video. Have yourselves a great day. Catch you later.